Hi, I'm Bruno, and this is my Management 118 speech. I'm going to talk to you guys a little bit about why I think that we should raise the minimum wage here in America. First and foremost, it's going to put money back in the pockets of hardworking Americans. And in turn, that's going to help stimulate the economy. So with Americans getting a higher wage coupled with the economic stimulation it will provide, it's definitely a no-brainer. Teens are no longer the ones that are working minimum wage jobs. More than half of Americans in the workforce currently support them and their families on less than $10 an hour. The minimum wage needs to be at a level that can help people support their families. Businesses will benefit from this as well. If the minimum wage is raised, it'll help them be able to hire better talent, people that are more likely to stay, hardworking individuals. Currently, with the minimum wage at what it is at about $8.25, that doesn't promote people that are entering the workforce to go work for those companies that pay that minimum wage. A higher minimum wage will be more attractive. The raising of minimum wage will also help take people out of poverty. It's important for people to support their families like I just touched on, and the current wage does not allow for that. Studies have shown that minimum wage will also save the government money as well. For instance, the SNAP program, which is the Supplemental Nutritional Assistance Program, is projected to be reduced by $46 billion over the next 10 years if the minimum wage were raised to $10.10. That shows just how much the government could save if they raise the minimum wage. 3.5 million Americans will also get off food stamps as well. Again, more money in the pocket of the government. A few dollars more an hour can help people climb out of debt and hopefully reduce the people that use these social programs I just talked about. People have, mortgage, car payments to make, and if they're getting paid a higher minimum wage, they're not going to rely on social programs as well. Job creation will also not be affected like people think it will be. Since 1987, states have raised their minimum wage 91 times, and in more than half of those instances, the unemployment rate actually fell. So it shows that an increase in the minimum wage is, getting workers motivated. They want to get out there in the workforce. So good things happen from the raising of the minimum wage. Income inequality will also help be reduced. It's just not right that CEOs make as much as they do in comparison to the hardworking Americans that they have employed. Although CEOs are still going to make a lot of money and the closing of the gap will be slight with an increase in the minimum wage, the gap will still be closed by this, even if it's just that much. The impact on families from an increase cannot be understated. I know I've already talked about it, but if families bring in more income, kids in those families can live better lives. Their parents can make sure they've got food on the table. They can make sure they go to better schools. Just everything will be improved for those kids and those families. People will also head up towards the middle class again, hopefully get more involved in their communities, politics, and it'll just create a nice economic, societal landscape. It'll just be a good thing. Higher income will also give more incentive for retirement and education as well. When people retire, that creates jobs, so that goes to my point about job creation earlier. And then if people go back and achieve higher education, they can also get better jobs, and this will help support their families, kids. Everything will be improved. The worry about Social Security in the future will also be curbed if the minimum wage is increased. That's because if people are making more money during the time they're in the workforce, they're going to be less likely to be so dependent on Social Security when they retire. So that's another reason why we need to get the minimum wage raised. The abuse that the working class has received in the past will also be reduced with the raising of the minimum wage. Employers will not be able to exploit the economy like they have in the past, because they'll be forced to pay their employees at least a livable wage. The $8.25 they've been forced to pay them, at least here in the state of Illinois in the past, that's just really not enough to give them incentive to hire decent workers, and they'll target that cut rate help. They need to be forced to raise the minimum wage higher, because honestly I don't think they would pay the workers what they deserve to be paid on their own. The raising of the minimum wage will also just be justice for those that have suffered during the economic crisis. Currently, 99% of the wealth here in America is held by the top 1% of Americans. There needs to be more equality in that respect. The wealth needs to be more spread out. It'll be a good thing for the economy and a good thing for all Americans. Corporations will also not be able to abuse the system like they have in the past. A lot of corporations are already very profitable, and it should not be an issue for them to be forced to pay their employees $1 or $2 more an hour. They will still, if the company is successful, they'll still be successful, and then their workers be happier. Hopefully it'll improve company morale. A lot of things can be improved by raising the minimum wage. If people that stay current on Illinois politics, and a lot of us voters here in Illinois are probably aware that on November 4th of this year, there was a vote on whether we should raise the minimum wage from $8.25 to $10 here in Illinois starting January 1st. And if people, they follow things like I just said, they would know that 70% voted yes on this subject. So that's definitely something to kind of keep an eye on, basically because of the things I just talked about. It'll be interesting to see if this increase does occur on January 1st like is anticipated, the kind of the effects that it'll have on families, American workers, the economy. It's just definitely something to keep an eye on, and hopefully good things will come of it. So at the end, just, no matter what your views are on this topic, I hope I provided everybody with some good insight or some facts on what can happen if the minimum wage is increased, and no matter how you feel about it, I just hope I gave you some good things to consider. Thank you.